Hi, oh, that always gets me. Hi, Molly. I am so
Hi.
excited to have you on my podcast. And I want you to just start with your story of how you got where you're going.
Yeah. Well, I have always been a pretty kind of forward-thinking, ambitious person. Just growing up and in college, I struggled a little bit in my earlier years, but decided that I was going to try to, make a mark. I didn't know really what that was. But I found I was, really good in business. And so I've spent the last 25 years in corporate America and the last 15 in earnest, climbing the corporate ladder. It was just what I thought I needed to do. And, I had some skills, in that area. And so I did that. And when I got to the top, I realized that's not really what I wanted. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
And, but through the process of doing that work and looking for the next thing and trying to achieve that next thing, my self-worth and my self-confidence became based in the validation that I received from others in the workplace. And that's just not a really great foundation to have your self-confidence and your self-worth based on that, because when that changes or that goes away, then you find yourself in a really vulnerable spot. And that's where I found myself about 3.5 years ago, and began to do some of the inner work to really shift my mindset and really question my motivations for doing the work that I was doing at the time. And have discovered through, I don't use the term struggle. I use the term contend for a positive mindset, contend for worth and confidence that is based in who I am inherently and not what somebody else thinks or feels or says about me or my performance. And learn some things along the way in contending that I'm just so passionate about sharing.
I can definitely relate to that. I was in the legal field. I was a paralegal for 25 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, you really get caught up in how they perceive you.
Sure.
And you do get caught. So you get caught up in, I got caught up in that. And I got caught up in being a mom.
Yes.
But I did not like my job at all. And but I did it. I kept doing it because yes, it brought in money
Yep.
and I
Gotta pay
worked for a
bills.
prominent law firm and that had its perks and everything, but the day that I lost my job, it was like a weight was lifted right off my shoulders.
Yes.
And it was the weirdest,
Yeah.
almost out of body experience. And I
Mm.
literally called my mom and I'm like, I just lost my job. And I'm okay with it because I don't know that I want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I have gone back and done that work a little bit and I know I can do it, but I don't
But you
know
don't
if
want to.
that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Attorneys don't have personalities.
Ah,
You're not, I mean,
yeah.
okay, a few of them do, but you're working for them. You're not, you don't get to show your personality. You don't get to be yourself because you're going to be who they want you to be, depending on the position that you're in.
That's exactly right. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's interesting, and I don't know if it's just I'm in my late 40s right now, and I've been through this season where I am redefining, hey, what does success look like? How is it measured? What I thought for years I was pursuing, what I thought would equal success, that I had arrived. When I got there, it that was not it. And so to be in this kind of midlife space and say, okay, not necessarily I was wrong, but now I'm awakened to something more and something bigger. And it's not what I'm doing, that can be a pretty scary place to find yourself.
Oh,
And so,
yes.
in those moments, your question, I mean, it's a little bit of an identity crisis, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so the journey that I've been on, even in the last like 6 to 9 months, as has been just a huge trajectory shifter for me.
That's a
In
tough
that,
word.
yes, and I'm telling you, and they like because when we have enough self-awareness to step back and just evaluate, okay, and be honest with ourselves to say, okay, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I thought. And I am tired mentally and physically of trying to hold on or grasp to what I thought I wanted. The ability to kind of let go and say, okay, this is what it is. What do I want? And if it's different, then having the courage to pivot and
Right.
say, okay, I'm going to be in pursuit of something else. And I have to tell you, like, that is at the same time extremely freeing, but also extremely terrifying.
Yes.
But more so, but on the back end of that, the alignment that congruence that you feel being in pursuit and aligned to what you feel you're called to, where you feel your strengths are, is very life-giving.
It is. It took me a long time to get to this point. Um, but after losing my job, but and I pivoted a few times because I went into sales, which
Yeah.
was nothing like being a paralegal,
Yeah,
but it was a huge pivot and I got to do what I wanted to do, which was help people.
that's right.
And it wasn't until my car accident a year and a half ago that that left me standing there going, okay, I'm here. I don't know how or why. Clearly, God has a bigger direction for me to go. And I just need to figure out what that is.
That's right. But you know how you do that? You do that one step at a time. I don't know about you, Lisa, but like I'm a hashtag overthinker.
Oh, me too. Perfectionist.
Yes. Yeah. And so in those moments where you are faced with, I call them catalyst moments where it's like, okay, this is going to be a trajectory shifter, right? Um, I have always historically said, well, I don't want to take my next step because I don't know what step 10 is,
Yep.
right? I can't project and see what's going to happen 10, 12, 20 steps down. So I'm just going to stay stuck. And what I found is that you just got to take the next best step,
Yep.
the next
Exactly.
best. And then doors will be open, people will be brought into your life, conversations will be had. You'll, see a commercial, a TV show, a social media post, or something that sparks inspiration, awakening, all of those things that will help you take then the next
Step.
step, right?
Yep.
And so,
Those
man
small
alive, I wish
steps.
I knew that in my 30s.
Oh, I wish I knew that in my 20s.
Yes, right, right.
Exactly. It's like,
Yes.
why, and then I look back at, okay, well, at that point in 2014, I knew only what I knew.
Yeah.
You know, had that happened to me now, it would have been told I would have handled it totally different because you handle the situations at where you are. And I've now taken 3, 4, 5 years to listen to a lot of podcasts about personal development, read a lot of books, do a lot of forgiveness work, which I wasn't ready to do back in 2014.
Yep. Exactly. That stuff makes all the difference. The inner work, getting to the next level with whatever impact that you're trying to make in the world is always going to require the inner work.
Mm-hmm.
Always going to require the inner work because it's who we have to become in order to have that impact, that influence, and so forth on others. it's through that self-awareness. So, yes, I totally agree with you on that.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's what I like about this is now, because I'm going to grow so much more doing this
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
by guiding people through what they're going through. It just is, I don't know, it's just a whole new level of growth. It's just like,
Love
I'm
it.
really looking forward to it. So I'm super
Yes,
excited to be in this area right now.
I love it. It's great. It's great.
So tell me a little bit about, you know, when people have to pivot or change the trajectory of the direction that their life is going, maybe suddenly,
Yep.
how we get over that 20 seconds of fear.
Mm, yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how you, because there had to be some fear in the direction that you were like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this now, and I don't want to do this. Talk to me how you worked through that fear.
Yeah. So the thing that I have discovered is that the fear is okay. Okay. Like fear is okay. So you got to feel the feelings
Hmm.
and can't ignore the feelings. So, especially just with the career change that I've had, in 2023, that has been a key part of it, is just sitting with it, sitting with the uncertainty, the fear, the doubt, and just feeling that and acknowledging it and just holding space for it. Now, it doesn't mean that I, get a mortgage and, build a house and get it in there,
Right.
right? Right? Like
Exactly.
it's important, especially like in those moments right after something dramatic or traumatic happens, to just acknowledge those feelings, acknowledge where you're at. And then what I did, I sought wise counsel. So
Okay.
I have a phenomenal a counselor that I've been working with for almost 2 years. And it's like, okay, help me navigate this.
Right.
Right. So seeking a wise counsel, I think, is going to be important part. But the thing that I think, after you get over kind of that shock piece and feeling the feelings, assessing, okay, what is my current reality?
Right.
Where am I today? Okay. And then what is my desired outcome? What is my desired outcome? What do I want? If I could sketch out the perfect scenario, what would that be? Now, you might not be able to go from current reality to desired outcome, in one shift,
Right.
right? But just really getting clear on, where am I? Where do I want to go? And then figuring out, okay, what's that next step? Because again, you're not going to know all 20 steps between here and there, between A and B, but having the clarity around what it is that you are trying to create or do, I think is critical. Because that's when your mind is going to be open to, I don't know if you know reticular activating system, if you've heard of the RAS, but it's amazing. It's that ability, like like my husband and I, we just bought a new to us red car. Well, now on the road, I see all the red cars, and it's just like, I see it, and it's because it's the filter in our brain, right?
Yep.
And so being clear on where you want to go is going to be really important, because your brain is going to filter and bring those things to your consciousness, into your thinking head. So
Hmm.
there's that piece, and then you've got to work within the construct that you're in, right? So for
Right.
my scenario, what I was seeking was the ability to let go of certain responsibilities in my job, so that I could focus solely on the piece that was my gifting, that was my skill set, that got me excited every day.
Right.
Right. And so inside that construct, I worked with my company to say, okay, here are the things that I know I can drive the biggest impact, add the most value. And oh, by the way, it is my gifting and my skill set. It's in alignment with who I am and who God made me to be. So if I can focus in this lane, let go of all of this other stuff, then I'm going to be just tremendous more amount of value to you as your company, right?
Right.
And so that ability to saying, okay, how can I get in alignment with who I am, what I'm called to do, and all of that, and work inside that construct. Now, I was very fortunate that the company that I work for was like, yeah, let's do that.
Right.
Right. And so then I was able to shed that which was not my skill set and which was causing me mental and emotional stress and strain and all of those things. Right. And so I was able to let go of that and really just like stay in my lane. And that, since I've had this kind of new scenario with my corporate work, I've never been happier in my corporate work ever.
Oh, that's
In
awesome.
like over 25 years. And the other thing is that it has absolutely reaffirmed why, like, my confidence in my worth, because I know who I am and I know what my gifting is.
Mhm.
And that's so important. And so and that scenario is something that I've added to my confidence resume, which is something I absolutely want to share with your audience, this amazing tool that I've learned about building confidence. Because I think we've all struggled with confidence,
Oh
right?
gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think so many years ago, when I was in pursuit of climbing the corporate ladder, I had hired an executive coach to help me just at that stage do a level up,
Do that.
right? And help. And one of the things that we worked on was confidence.
Okay.
And what she shared with me is this idea that we have been building confidence our entire lives. But our memories are very short. Okay. So we don't remember the badass things that we've done in our lives.
No, we don't.
You don't remember those. And so this idea of building your confidence resume, and I've got mine, I'll show it to you here in a minute, but I've got this confidence resume and the series of prompts that helps recall the things that you've done in your life, right? And so I love, there's so many definitions of success or of confidence, but my favorite is that confidence is the memory of success. So when we can think about that, right? Confidence is the memory of success. And so what we do when I work with folks and take them through the same exercise my executive coach took me through, we ask questions like, what is something that you've done in your life that you knew would be hard, but you did it anyway? Right?
Yeah, that's, for a lot of people, that would be a hard question to answer.
Well, so that's okay. I've got lots of them. I've got lots of prompts, but to think about, like, what's one thing that I knew that would be hard that I did it anyway? Like, I signed up for a half marathon and I couldn't run from here to there without falling over.
I signed up to say I would be a podcaster, and that took me 20 seconds of standing there going, whoa, what did I just do?
Yes, that is exactly right. That goes on your confidence resume, right? The ability to say, after working for that law firm for so many years and to have lost that job and have the opportunity to pivot to something that is more in alignment with who you are and your calling and what you want, something that lights you up, that is courage to do that, right? That is a badass thing that you've done that goes on your confidence resume. When was there a time in your life when you felt unprepared, but you moved forward anyway? When did you do something when you were scared or anxious or excited, but you did it anyway? Right? What is something that you've done that you'll never do again, but you're glad you said you did it, right? So yeah. So, I mean, what are the things that you're really proud of? The things that you've achieved? What are the things that you did when you felt that you were challenged and you succeeded, or that when you were challenged and you failed? Right. So we've got just these prompts to get you thinking about all these things that you've done in your life and you go all the way back, right? Big or small, it doesn't make a difference. You don't have to qualify it for anybody else, but the idea is that you write them down. And so I've got a list here of all of the things on my current confidence resume. This is a living, breathing thing. You can add to it. But here's the gold with this, Lisa. Here's the gold is that you create this list, you add to it as things come up. And when you are in moments of fear, doubt, uncertainty, when you're not sure what you should do, when you're scared or feeling challenged or feel like, I don't know step 10, I'm scared to take step 2. What do? You pull out your confidence resume and you read through all of the things that you have done in like times, and you pull on that feeling that gives you, and then you take your next step.
I love that. Love that. That I'm going to use that.
Please, by all means, yes, by all means. And I'm happy to provide some resources for your show notes and all of these things, because it is, we have short memories.
We do.
Like, we have done things like you recovered from your car accident, right? That wasn't hard. There were days you probably wanted to give up, but you didn't.
Right. That was hard.
Yeah. Those are things, those were physically hard, emotionally, mentally hard, but things that you persevered in. We have to document those things and go back to them so we can go back to that feeling, that pride, feeling the joy of having crossed the finish line in a half marathon that I signed up for 14 weeks prior, right? I say I ran a half marathon. I actually jogged and walked it. There was more walking. Yeah,
you finished.
Finish line.
Exactly.
Right? I never thought in a million years I could do that. I never thought that I could lose 50 pounds and take my health back, which was another trajectory shifter in my life. Right? We have done all of these things that, like, it is proof. It is visible proof that we've been building confidence our entire lives. I love my friend Katie Langford, who shared this with me. It's like, we just need to dial back into those things that we've done. And then draw upon that strength. Yes.
Yeah, because when you stand there and you don't have the confidence, and you're like, oh, who says I can do this? Or why am I qualified for that? Or you see a job posting and you're like, oh, I can't do that because I don't have that, and that. It happens for everyone.
It does.
You just don't have the confidence. And I'm really looking forward to starting a confidence resume.
Yes, absolutely. It's so fascinating. I do speak with a lot of women's groups, and especially around the applying for jobs, right? We want to have 98% of all of the experience listed in the job rec, but the reality is that that's not needed, right? Right. Like, if you can do 98%, then you're probably overqualified for that job. Right?
Exactly.
Right. And our lovely male counterparts are going to look and say, oh, I've done that and that, which is like 20%, and they're going to go after it. Right. It's very different mindset around that.
Oh, it's the mindset, that difference between the men and women is really amazing to me.
It is.
And, because you're right. A guy's going to go say, we're going to do this, and we're just going to do it. We're going to throw it out there. We're going to see where it lands. And we overthink everything. We stand in the face of fear. We lose our confidence. Why are we doing this? It's just, it really amazes me that we go that direction. But I do it all the time.
As do I. Again, like, I pull out my confidence resume when I'm going into meetings, when I'm doing something new. I pull that out and I remind myself, like, first of all, our stories matter. Everybody's story matters. And there is always somebody out there that can learn from what we have walked through. Right. And so it's so important. And I've started asking myself more recently, I always ask myself, like, what if nobody signs up, or nobody replies, or whatever. But what if they did? What if it went well?
Right.
But
I think that is part of the fear, though, because you have that fear of, what if no one signs up? What if it doesn't go well? Or you have that fear of, oh, what if everybody signs up? And what if it does go super well? Do you know what I mean?
Wow. I do. But then I think I think you got to dial back into, if you're scared of the success, then you got to dial back into what's your desired outcome.
Right.
Why is it important
Right.
to you?
And if it's
Yeah.
important to you, then you should be able to face that fear and just go through it.
Well, just take your next best step.
Mm-hmm.
Take your next best step. So, yeah.
So tell me how, because a lot of people talk about having to rewrite their story.
Mhm.
And we all have traumas or things that have happened to us that we you need to rewrite your story. It just needs to go a different way. And how do you help people get to that point where they're looking back at a trauma that happened in childhood and rewriting their story to change the trajectory of there's that word again, and I got it right, um, of the direction that they're going.
Yeah.
Because the deep trauma comes up, and that's where a lot of our fear comes from. Think of when we were little kids, we had all the confidence in the world, we had all the imagination in the world. We were invincible, we could do anything.
Right.
And we had the fear of falling maybe as a baby. If it's just weird how certain things as we've gone through life cause us to lose our confidence and forget what we've done and forget all these things that we've how magnificent we are. It's I don't know, kind of a weird.
Yeah, I think, especially with, I mean, I think most people have some type of childhood trauma, and I think that it stems from our emotional needs not being met.
Mhm, mhm.
And not, it isn't necessarily something malicious,
Right.
sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not. Parents are not perfect. And as a parent, I'm like, yes, I am not perfect.
Well, I wasn't.
Right? And I've certainly, there's, and so I think that being able to process through, I think that's really important when you're faced with, you're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
When you're at that crossroads, I think processing that with a professional is I highly recommend. I've been doing things like, EMDR and counseling and that type of thing. That has been hugely beneficial to do that if you've got unresolved trauma. So
Right.
I think that is very important. But the other thing is that, again, and I go back to it, it's like, okay, where am I? What is my current reality? And what is my desired outcome? And getting really clear
Mhm.
about why it is you want to do X, Y, or Z. Why? And because that is going to help chart the steps uh, moving forward. And so,
So what going off of that now, what how would you take me through what steps would you take me through to help me gain clarity of where I want to go?
yeah. Well, so I would ask, and I do this with my health coaching clients all the time. It's like, okay, what's your goal? Like, what is it? What is it that you want to do?
Mhm.
Right. So maybe you want to have, a top 10 podcast with tens of thousands of downloads. I don't know, whatever it is. Right?
Sure.
Sure.
Let's go for
Right.
that.
But then I'm going to ask why. Like, why
Right.
is that important to you? Why is that important? What, if you can put yourself in the achievement of that, or the doing of that,
Mhm.
what does that give you in life? How is your life different because of that? Right. So, like, for example, with my health coaching clients, I talk to them all the time. It's like, yeah, I want the number on the scale to be X. Well, why? Why is
Why?
that?
Mhm.
What does your life look like? If you have achieved a healthy weight, what does your life look like? Oh, well, I want to be able to play on the ground with my grandkids.
There
Okay.
you go.
Okay. That's intrinsic motivation right there.
Right.
Right. What else? What things are you not able to do today that you want to be able to do? Like when you think, oh, when I retire, I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to, an active grandmother, or I want to be able to, do X, Y, or Z. Why is that? What does that give you? Does it give you a sense of purpose? Give you a sense of impact? Does it create income for you? Does it add more life to your life? Right.
Right.
Those things, and really getting clear on that, because in the pursuit of what we are trying to create, we are going to hit struggles. We're going to hit bumps. It's never a straight line from point A to point B. And so knowing and being very clear about why you are doing what you are doing and what that intrinsic motivation is, we're going to have to dial into that when we hit those road bumps, right? Because if it's not an intrinsic motivation that is helping us, that is fueling us, then at the first sign of adversity, we're going to quit.
Yep. Or we're going to dip severely.
Yes. And that's part of it, right? And so I don't want to say like, there are moments in that, but when you hit those moments, dialing back into that why is so critical.
Right.
It's so critical. And that will help get you out of the funk. That will help you pivot. That will help you take whatever that next best step is toward what you're trying to create.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So what else do you want to talk about? Kind of hit everything that I wanted.
Yeah. I have one more tool I would love to share with your audience.
Perfect.
One more tool, and it's about reducing our self-doubt and reducing the, now I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. Okay. So it's a negative talk, like a negative tape in my head. It's a tape, not like a CD.
It's a tape. Where the little thing comes out and you got to pull it out.
100%. Absolutely. So the negative tape. And so in those moments, and I don't know if you can relate here, but I'm not talking about being like in a state of like, fight or flight or anything like that, but you're going through your day and you're doing the things, but you've got this kind of white noise tape going through your head saying, you're not good enough. Your story doesn't matter. You'll never be able to do X, Y, or Z, right? It's just this tape that goes through your head. And so that's what I'm talking about. So how can we shift that negative talk track, that negative mental tape that plays in your head in a very profound way? This is a tool that I learned from my friend Sarah Centrella. She's absolutely amazing. If you're not following her, she's amazing. And it's called mental tennis. And what this is, so let me set it up. So our brains don't know the difference between a truth or a lie when it is told something repetitively. Okay. So if our brains don't know the difference, then we might as well tell the best possible version of what we want. Right. So how mental tennis works is initially you practice some metacognition, which is very, very basically thinking about what you're thinking about. Okay. So dialing into that kind of white noise mental tape of negative thoughts that that play in the background, right? So actually tapping in and saying, okay, what am I thinking about? And jotting that down. Okay. So you're writing down, what are those negative thoughts? What are those things that I hear on repeat that I consistently tell myself? Okay. Then what we do after, and I literally, when I'm playing mental tennis, I'm jotting that down. And then right next to those negative cognitions or those negative thoughts, we're writing the logical opposite. So if I'm thinking, my story doesn't matter, the logical opposite is my story does matter. Or I'll never be able to lose all of this excess weight. I can lose the weight, right? I am worthy. So you're writing down literally the logical opposite of those statements. And then you start to play your game of mental tennis. So picture it with me. You're on a tennis court and you've got the automatic ball feeder feeding you balls and you're practicing your swing. Okay. The ball feeder is sending over those negative thoughts your way, right?
Mhm.
You're unworthy. You're not worth it. Your story doesn't matter. And all of those things. Okay. So when that negative thought gets served up in your head, you are going to come back and either say in your head or out loud, but very consciously, I am worth it. I am worthy. My story matters, right? So you are going to actively recite, think, or say that logical opposite. Okay. And this takes a little bit of practice, but it's very effective because what we're doing is we're not allowing that we are changing the neural pathways in our brain by reciting and repeating that logical opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And over time, what happens is the negative thought diminishes as the logical opposite takes root. Okay. And you won't be saying those things in your head.
Right,
Right.
because the only thing you're saying, you're thinking it, but you're not saying, you're thinking these, you're not saying these, but you're adding these as the new
logical
words for
opposite. So
yourself.
and they'll come up, like we all have negative cognitions or negative thoughts. So when it comes up, you dial back with that logical opposite. When I know I need to play a game of mental tennis, it's when I've been in a funk, when I can't, and I'm feeling really like down or feeling like just out of sorts. Like that's a sign that I've got something going on and I have to tap in. Okay. I have to look, okay, what is it that I'm telling myself? And then jot down those logical opposites. And then when those thoughts come up, it's like, no, I am worth it. I am good at my job. Right. In those things. Now, to supercharge that. So what's interesting is those logical opposites. In my experience, those logical opposites are all things that I want to be, do, and create in my life. And so to supercharge it, to go in and say at the beginning of my day, so I have a very structured morning routine that sets my day up for success. And one of those things is to repeat those logical opposites. So that is like taking vitamins for your mindset first thing in the morning. So you're starting your day saying, I am worth it. Mm-hmm. My story matters. I am healthy. I am a great mom. Right?
Right.
all of these things, like I am worth it. Mm-hmm. All of these things where I struggle with these negative thoughts, right. You start your day repeating that logical opposite. And that is like supercharging your mindset in the morning.
Yeah, that inner critic will get all of us.
100%. And there'll be times when it's louder.
Yes.
And so forth. And then that's when you gotta play your mental tennis.
You really need it then. You really need it then. Yes.
Absolutely.
That is a really good idea. I've written down, so I've kind of done a version of this, but where I literally kept a note of what I was thinking.
Yes.
But and I did it more to acknowledge it.
Also okay.
So I think this is going to, that's a better way of doing it. Because all I did was acknowledge. It looked and went, okay, I said this many times, this many. Well, now I just added up all the things that I just said about myself.
So it's time to reframe it. It's time to reframe it, right? And even if it's not, even if the logical opposite has not actually, like you've never experienced that in the physical realm, like that is okay. Okay. Because again, our brains don't know the difference between a truth or a lie. Right. So let's tell the best possible version we can. Right.
Right.
And so it doesn't make a difference because our brains don't know the difference. And so now again, like if you are in like a heightened like fight or flight, or you've got dysregulated nervous system, you've got to get into a regulated state before you this, in my opinion, works right beautifully. So but yeah, mental tennis, right? So
nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you want to share with me that you have not shared yet?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. We're building confidence every day of our lives, right? It doesn't stop. And it is a muscle. So if you stop dialing into building that confidence resume and all those things, then it will atrophy, but you can get it back. Right.
Right.
You know, everybody's story matters.
Yes, it
Everybody's,
does.
yeah. And being in alignment with who you are, knowing, being aware of who you are, what your gifts are, and then and then living in that alignment is one of the most freeing things you can do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so incredibly much for being on my podcast. I have thoroughly enjoyed our discussion, and I look forward to getting the confidence resume sent over so that I can add that in the show notes. And thank
Got
you.
it.
And I hope that we can do this again in the future.
I would love to. It's great.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.